Hello, this is Tommy Franks. Welcome to the 4-Star Leadership Podcast, a product of the General Tommy Franks Leadership Institute and Museum. We're here to get a view into the lives of the legacy makers, the movers and the shakers of today, to offer insights from the full spectrum of the leadership community. We'll talk to former 4-star students and explore their leadership development path. We'll work to find out what they are about today and learn from the opportunities they've made for themselves in this world. It's my distinct pleasure to welcome you to this podcast. Remember, leaders are not born, they're developed.
Hello, and welcome to episode 11 of the Core Principles of Leadership with General Tommy Franks. I am your host, Delise Travis. We are very excited to have John Lynch, General Manager of the 49ers, as our guest today. We'll talk about his early life, the foundation that made him who he is, and we'll be sharing his thoughts on mental toughness. Before we get into our program, we'll have a word from our major sponsor, REI Oklahoma.
REI Oklahoma is proud to be a part of the General Tommy Franks Leadership Institute and the production and distribution of these podcasts designed to inspire leaders and difference makers. At REI Oklahoma, we have been working with small business leaders, entrepreneurs, and people who are driven to succeed for years. Highly motivated people working to own their own businesses, live in their own homes, and make the world a better place. Since its beginning, REI Oklahoma has continued to identify hurdles and deliver holistic solutions to create job growth and help neighborhoods thrive in both rural and urban communities. REI Oklahoma looks forward to visiting with you about helping your business and community grow. Visit reiok.org or call 800-658-2823 to start the conversation.
Today, we welcome John Lynch, General Manager of the 49ers. He's in his 20th NFL season, 15 playing and 5 front office, and his 5th with the 49ers. One of the most respected players to ever play the game of football and a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's class of 2021. John Lynch is in his 5th season as the team's general manager following a 15-year playing career and more than 8 seasons as an NFL analyst. Lynch joined the 49ers in February of 2017 and has been vigilant in seeking and acquiring players that embody the team's culture on the field and in the community. Following a 13-3 regular season record and a trip to Super Bowl 54, Lynch was named the 2019 Executive of the Year by the Pro Football Writers of America. Lynch has faced many new challenges, navigating adjustments, and retained core players who played vital roles for the team. Lynch and the 49ers leadership steered their way through the COVID-19 pandemic, a situation that included the relocation of the team's football operations to Arizona for the final month of the season. Before coming to the 49ers, Lynch served as a color analyst for Fox Sports from 2009 to 2016. Prior to his time at Fox, Lynch constructed one of the all-time great NFL careers while with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Denver Broncos. A 4-time All-Pro and 9-time Pro Bowl selection, Lynch also started all 12 playoff games. He was a Buccaneers team captain as the squad achieves the crown jewel of team sports, a victory in Super Bowl 37, and has been inducted into the Ring of Honor in both Tampa Bay and Denver. Lynch attended Stanford University, where he excelled in both football and baseball. On the football field, he earned second-team All-American and first-team All-Pac-10 conference honors as a senior, while playing for Hall of Fame head coach Bill Walsh. Lynch was later selected in the 3rd round of the 1993 NFL Draft by Tampa Bay. Following his career on the diamond for the Cardinal, he was selected in the 2nd round of the 1992 Major League Baseball Draft by the Florida Marlins. In addition to his stellar play on the field, Lynch is also a pillar of the community. He and his wife Linda formed the John Lynch Foundation, which is committed to inspiring young people to become leaders through scholarship, sport participation, and community involvement. The foundation is committed to developing leaders by encouraging dreams, providing programs that assist and motivate, and recognize achievement and excellence. Lynch was the recipient of the 2006 Bart Starr Award, which is voted upon by players throughout the NFL and recognizes a player who shows outstanding character and leadership in the home, on the field, and in the community. He was also presented with the Byron White Award, which is given annually to the NFL player who serves his team, community, and country in the spirit of Byron Raymond White. In 2019, Lynch received the prestigious Winder Wise Changemaker Award, which is given annually to a current or former professional athlete who has used their sports platform to improve the lives of underserved youth. Additionally, Lynch was the 2019 recipient of the Excellence in Leadership Award from the Positive Coaching Alliance and the Ireland Fund's 2020 Distinguished Leadership Award recipient. John and his wife Linda have 4 children, Jake, Lindsay, Lily, and Leah.
Good afternoon, John. Thank you for being with us today. We just reviewed your bio and all of the exciting things about your life today, things that you've done. And we'd like to get to know you and what is who you are and what makes you tick. Can you tell us about you, your hometown, your family, childhood, some of those exciting things that we don't know about?
Yeah, so I was born outside of Chicago in a place called Hinsdale, Illinois, and my parents were both born and raised in Chicago. I was born in Chicago or Hinsdale and lived there for 9 months, and so that's where our roots are. When I was 9 months old, my dad took a job out in San Diego, and so was raised really in my hometown would be out in San Diego, California. And had a tremendous childhood. You know, my dad played a little bit in the National Football League for the Pittsburgh Steelers. My parents both went to Drake University in Iowa. My dad was a 12th round draft choice of the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1969, and really just had a cup of coffee in the NFL and then started working. Said, I got to support my family. My dad got into the radio business and in sales, and went on to have a real successful career in radio. Ended up selling advertising time, and then eventually owning a radio company that owned stations across the country. My mom was a stay-at-home mom and just the greatest mom you could ever ask for. So I really led a charmed life, and my dad, I think they were a tremendous example of people who worked hard, had great values. Our faith is very important to us. But I'm speaking when I was growing up with my elder sister and younger brother. We went to daily mass. We're Catholic. We went to daily mass every day. That's how we would start our day, and went to Catholic school. And so those are some of the great memories that I have as a family, going to daily mass. And then, that's how they would drop you off for the day. You go up to school, and then I think my parents adhered to the philosophy that you couldn't possibly get in trouble if you're so tired that you couldn't imagine getting into trouble. So we did every extracurricular, and sports were something my parents very much believed in, because of the enjoyment, but probably more so because of the life lessons that you can learn playing sports, and you learn them so tangibly. And so we were very much sports family. My parents were always involved in the community, whether it be a school pancake breakfast or my mom always worked the snack shop at the Little League. When we needed a stadium at our high school, they started the fundraiser to get that happen. So I learned that you can give of yourself, and that not only is it a nice thing to do, it's a responsibility to give back to your community. The best way they did it was by modeling it. And so, I'd say my folks had high standards. We were told that we're Lynches, we bring home A's and B's, maybe we're okay. But, I think my mom was kind of the nurturer. My dad pushed me in particular hard, but I think did it in a very loving way. I always felt love, but I always knew there was a high standard, and that, the good Lord gave us a lot of gifts, and it was our job basically to be the best you could be. And I also taught to treat people with kindness. And so, I'm really grateful to my parents and to my siblings, just for the way we grew up and what they instilled in us. So that's kind of my life story. I went to Torrey Pines High School in North County of San Diego. I played, in high school, I really played football and baseball, and then, was recruited at a lot of schools, and knew I wanted to play both baseball and football in college, and Stanford was a great place to do that. Stanford recruited me hard, and Stanford's where I ended up. And it was a tremendous place to find out, I think that the kind of the brand of Stanford is excellence. And I think a great illustration, when Stanford builds a class, they don't try to build the most well-rounded. They try to get the best saxophonists, the best, political scientists, the best engineers. And they figure if they put all these people who are the best at what they do together, it will all kind of rub off on everyone else. And for me, it was a great opportunity to go to a place that had high standards, both academically and in sport. And you also, rubbing elbows with people at the top of their fields. And so that was a great chapter in my life. And then, I signed professional baseball before I did at football. I was, after my junior year at Stanford, I was drafted by the Florida Marlins and played a couple of seasons with them. A year later, I was signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, drafted in the 3rd round, and went on to a 15-year NFL career. And, really just got to live my dream. I feel so blessed because I really got to do what I always dreamed of doing. I wanted to be like my dad, who had a cup of coffee in the NFL, but in my mind, he was Mean Joe Green, or he was, and so I just wanted to really be like my dad. And I loved football. And so to be able to do that for 15 years, played for the Bucks in Tampa. That's where I met General Franks. And then I played 4 years for the Denver Broncos. And as I wrapped up my career, and was real blessed with the success of my career, won a world championship, won a Super Bowl championship, had numerous personal accolades, but have really led a charmed life.
That's a great story, and it underscores how important a strong family is to a student, because it's obvious there was never a time in your life that high standards and high values weren't there. And the core foundation of who you were and who your family was, and high expectations for high performance. So there was never a time that slacking off was part of the story. So
it really wasn't an option. I mean, I talked about the way we'd start our days. Before that, from the time I was in 3rd grade, my dad would wake my brother and me up, and my sister would join us. Sometimes we'd go to Nautilus, which was the gym then, and you'd go there, and then we'd go to Nautilus, we'd do our circuit. I was usually into working out. I loved it. My brother was younger, so he'd be asleep in the corner. And then I always laugh with my dad. We'd kind of ruin the workout by I lived in a place called Solana Beach, was in the North County of San Diego. We'd leave Nautilus and go to Solana Donut House and buy a dozen donuts and eat those before we went off to mass and got on with our day. But, I was, real fortunate this year. I was honored, getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And,
yes,
that's
absolutely.
something that I talk so much about, that was that, I never would have been there without the people who believed in me. And first and foremost, and at the top of that list were my parents, because they were really, they should write a book on parenting, because they were the perfect team. My dad was tough, yet loving. My mom was always nurturing, but also in her own way had a very high standard. And there was just certain things we lived up to, and there was tough love. If you wanted to play sports, you got good grades. And I think so often parents and people talk about consequences, but when they come, they kind of, well, all right, we told you that you had to do this, but you didn't. So just do better. Now, if we didn't get our grades, there was one year where I sat for a good part of a season because I wasn't taking school seriously. And so you understood that there were consequences and there were responsibilities. And so very, very fortunate for that.
Thank you for that story. That is a really important part of who you are, and I think it's very important to share that with our student and adult listeners. Can you share with us, you went from being a player to a team manager, and from each experience in your career, how did these experiences shape your life and the decisions that you made?
Yeah. So, I was drafted in the third round, and football was really my passion. It was my love. I was probably a more talented baseball player. I was drafted higher in baseball. But I think a couple of things. I told you there was always a want to be like my dad, and my dad even pushed baseball because he thought I had a little bit more talent and it's much safer. My mom clearly pushed baseball. She didn't like the physicality of football.
Right.
I think there was something about everyone telling me I should play baseball that drove me to even more in football. But I was drafted in 1993 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And at the time, just to give a little context, the Buccaneers were the worst franchise in all of sports. They were, the night show at the time was Johnny Carson, and they were often part of the butt of jokes. I mean, they're so bad they couldn't beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and things like that. And so I was drafted to a place that had really just been known for their futility. They couldn't ever get it right. And, I went there and I didn't have instant success. I wasn't a starter until year 3. And so there were days where I was going, hold on, I gave up a promising baseball career to come to the worst organization in all the sport, and I can't even get on the field here. And so there were moments that my belief in myself and in my future were tested. But I did what I had always learned to do: put your head down and work, and continue to believe in yourself. And I'm so thankful for not only my parents, but all the coaches, for my wife, Linda, who always believed in me and supported me, and, taught me to don't sacrifice your dreams. Don't reset your dreams because it hasn't started the right way. You're going to get, because I used to talk about making the Pro Football Hall of Fame, about winning championships. And in those first 3 years, it seemed like anything but that. But I was very blessed to have people around me who continued to believe in me. And then things started going my way. I started stacking positive days. And that's what I learned when the people who succeed in the NFL, I think in life, are the people that really don't ride the wave of the emotions. Oh, I had a bad day. Now I'm going to go into the tank for a month. I started learning, what, if I can just get a little bit better each day, all of a sudden that becomes an avalanche of positivity, and you just kind of break through all the places and you become better than you even ever thought you could be. And so that success started going my way and really became a cornerstone of the franchise in Tampa. At the same time, people like Tony Dungy came into the organization and really put us on a right path. And, we knocked on the door for a long time, but eventually in 2002 won Super Bowl 37. And that was such a blessing, because I think for someone like myself who had been there during the hard times and when the organization was winning 4 games a year, to have been part of that turnaround and all the work that it took, I think it made you appreciate it all the more. Finished my career in Denver, and then I retired really not knowing where I was going to go, and really just spent a year being around my family. And but then knew that, hey, it's time to do something. I was a young man in the real world and had to find what was next. And I was fortunately courted by a lot of the networks, and they wanted me to come talk football for them. And so I went and did that for 9 years. I worked for the NFL on Fox, and at some point, I got intrigued with the idea of being involved with an organization again and running a team. My good friend in Denver, John Elway, the great Hall of Fame quarterback, had taken over the Denver Broncos, and I was friends with him, and he kind of let me into what that job entails. And I love the idea of building a team and comprising it, of not only talent but leadership, and not the greatest 53 players, but the 53 best people to comprise the team and complement each other. And so that just became, in 2017, an opportunity came my way where Kyle Shanahan, I had played for his dad, was coaching for the Atlanta Falcons, but the Niners job was open, the San Francisco 49ers. And, it looked like he was going to get the job in San Francisco. And one day I'd come to know Kyle, and I just said, "Hey, Kyle, congratulations. It sounds like you're going to get the job in San Francisco. And I know this is crazy because I'm just, a former player who's broadcast. I've never been in management, but I've always been intrigued by that. And if you wanted someone to work with, I'd be interested in talking to you." And he said, "Thanks a lot." But I thought it'd go nowhere. And like 24 hours later, he picked up the phone and he called me back and he said, "I can't stop thinking about what you presented me with. And are you serious? Like, would you really consider doing that?" And I said, "Absolutely. With you, I got a lot of belief in you." And, I think 3 days later, I was named the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers after talking to ownership here. So I've been doing that for 5 years and, working to try to get to the top. We, in our third year, we went to the Super Bowl in Miami against the Kansas City Chiefs. We fell short. And so just, trying to be the best I can be at leading this organization back. They've won 5 world championships here. So there's a high standard here. The days of Bill Walsh and Joe Montana and Ronnie Lott and all those guys, you're reminded of it every day as you walk by. 5 Lombardi trophies, and the opportunity to bring a 6th Lombardi trophy to here drives me each and every day, and really enjoying what I'm doing.
So what I'm hearing is that the goal setting and the struggles and the successes as a player help you become a really great team manager as far as the goal setting and struggles and the drive and determination. And so as a team player, you have so much more experience in bringing that to the table as a manager.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of value. It's a different route to get here. There's very few. John Elway, I mentioned, ran a team for a number of years, Ozzie Newsome in Baltimore. But most of the time in the NFL, people in my position, the general manager position, don't come from being a player in their background. They come from a scouting background. But I do think it adds. When I'm sitting at my desk right now, and one of the tough parts of this job is that I have to, our rosters are constantly turning over. There's a lot of people that want to do this, and we're trying each and every day to build the best roster to compete. And unfortunately, I have to deliver bad news because not everybody we bring in can make it on a team. Not everybody can stay on a team. And so I have to sit down with players and give them the bad news that, we appreciate your efforts. Tell them the truth. I think you should stay with it, or, hey, you might want to look at doing something else. But I know that when I look at them, they know that I've been in their shoes. They know that I've played. And so I do think that there's an appreciation from the players, and there's an insight that I have that maybe some other people don't have. And that doesn't ensure success, but I think it's been a great resource for me. I think I also understand what goes into being a top flight player in this league, and what goes into building what the qualities and characteristics of championship teams. What are they comprised of? And obviously talent's at the top of that list, but it's a lot of other things. Are they a great teammate? Are they dependable? Are they guys that, that are always going to put their teammates, in front of their own interests, their own personal interest, and understand that it's bigger than just them. And so I think all those things were certainly learned playing and give me a very good understanding of those things. And like I said, it doesn't ensure anything, but I do think it's of great value.
I think you have a tremendous amount of trust from your players because of where you've been. And I think that's such an important part of leadership, is that they trust you. Because people won't follow someone that they don't trust. And I know that that's probably, would you say, a very big part of the relationship that you have with your players?
I do. And, they know I'm right there with them. And I care about them. I care for them. I care for their families. I remember, as you're talking, that trust. I remember walking MacDill Air Force Base where, I met General Franks on the field shortly after 9/11 in Tampa. He was in charge of U.S. CENTCOM, which was based at MacDill Air Force Base. And after 9/11, as we returned to football, they brought a ton of soldiers and I was a captain of the Buccaneers, and General Franks was doing the coin toss. And he tells a story that I went up and shook his hand, and it was an emotional time and it was a prideful time about being an American. And I went up and shook his hand, as did all the other captains. But what really caught his eye is there were a bunch of soldiers lined up in the end zone, and I went down and shook every one of their hands. And so he invited me out to MacDill, and I had been there with other generals that had served there prior. But there was something different when I was with General Franks. And what I came to know was it was that trust that they had for him. He was really one of them. And I think it came from, after spending some time, he came from the enlisted route. He wasn't always an officer. He came from being an enlisted guy. And I think there was really a feeling amongst the soldiers that would walk around MacDill. And I could just see the respect. And they respected the past generals I was with, but they really respected it and had a great affinity. And I felt like they'd do anything for General Franks. And I think it was that trust and that he genuinely cared for them. And so I've always tried to carry that with me as I've been in positions of leadership, because I think there's nothing more important.
A soldier's general is what he has been called. So you're exactly right. And thank you for sharing. That was one of my questions, was for you to share your relationship with General Franks, how you met him, and you all are still friends today. Is that not right?
Yeah, we talk on a regular basis as we have a big win or a tough loss. He and Kathy are always some of the first to text me with the words of encouragement or belief. And they were scheduled to come to Canton for my induction into the hall, but with the COVID and everything, they stayed and watched from Oklahoma. But they're special people. They've done so much for our country. I've got such admiration. He taught me a lot about leadership. Sometimes it's such a big topic, but I think General Franks, he spoke at our foundation, where we recognized and rewarded kids for their efforts in their classrooms, in their sports, and in their communities. And General Franks was our speaker one year, and he talked about leadership, because we talked a lot about leadership and it's something he said that stuck with me. There's a lot of characteristics of leadership, and everyone wants a definition, and it's such a broad subject, but really it boils down to, do you make people around you better? And I've always carried that with me, because I think that's true. There's servant leadership, there's vocal leadership, there's leadership by example, but ultimately it comes down to, do you make people better around you? Do you inspire people to reach greater heights than they ever thought they could? And he had a great way, if you've been around General Franks, he can make the complex sound very simple. He's very direct in his sayings. And, I just learned so much, and he's such an enjoyable person as well. Family means a lot to him, like it does to me. Even though there was an age gap and all that, we just became very close friends and have stayed in touch over the years. I don't see him as much as I would like, but just he's somebody I've learned a great deal, and I admire as much as anybody. I'm a huge fan. But after I met him on the football field, he invited me out to MacDill, and really allowed me. It was a big thing, I think, for the soldiers to have a football player, right, wrong, or indifferent. They got a kick out of a Buccaneer coming out to the base, and he invited me out a lot, and I really got to do some cool stuff. Go up and with the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds, excuse me, and refuel, from a C-130. I just got a lot of cool experiences, but most of all, I got to be out there and show my gratitude as an American for our soldiers and all the sacrifice that they make and their families make. And I got to repay some of that, of my gratitude by lifting their spirits. They all would tell us how much it means when they're overseas, and how, I couldn't believe, like, they stay up till 3 in the morning sometimes to watch their favorite NFL team, and the lift that gives them in a real tough time. And so those were just really good times, fond memories. We did a lot socially. He introduced me to a lot of very interesting people, and I still see people that, hey, General Franks is a good friend of mine as well. And so it's a friendship that I treasure, and we'll always be grateful for that encounter on the field in Tampa.
Thank you. And thank you so much for sharing that. Of course, that's how we know General Franks, and that relationship, of course, is very important to us, and something that we're very fond of.
Hello, this is Jay Zacharias with the General Tommy Franks Leadership Institute and Museum, and I would like to tell you about one of our partner sponsors. His name is Justin Krieger, and he has worked as an independent insurance agent at Krieger Insurance Agency in his hometown of Hobart, Oklahoma since 1999. Justin is honored to help with the annual Celebration of Freedom event and has been a board member for the General Tommy Franks Leadership Institute and Museum for many years. He is also a fifth-generation farmer and rancher in Kiowa County, where cattle, crops, and even insurance is sold with a handshake. Give him a call at 580-726-3076, or come by the office if you would like to speak with Justin Krieger or Kathy Langford about insurance. We are thankful to our customers and friends who have supported us through the years. Again, Justin would like to say how honored he is to live in such a great country and how proud he is to help sponsor these podcasts. Please enjoy the rest of this podcast experience from your friends at Krieger Insurance Agency.
Can you tell me, in the information that I read about you, it shares that the team culture is what you focus on the field and in the community, and this is something that is very important to General Franks. Can you share with me the team culture that you focus on?
Yeah, so, I think when Kyle and I came here, the 49ers, is, as I told you, it's a really proud organization. They had fallen on some hard times. And so as we came here, we had a lot of things that matched up in terms of what we believed made up championship organizations. The other great thing, we had a great roadmap, the 49er way, the way they did things here. But I think it's really important to capture your beliefs. And so, one of the first things we did is I had taken a class at Stanford years back, and it was a decision-making class, and it talked about the decision-making process. But one of the exercises they did was create a vision statement. And I always, that professor, his name's Burke Robinson, was a brilliant man, and he had done this for numerous companies, and it really help them capture their belief system. Because if you're going to aspire to be something, you better be able to verbalize and have it everywhere throughout your culture as to what you stand for, how you do it. And so one of the things, Kyle and I've got it right here. It's our vision statement, and we separate it into two areas: talent, what we're looking for in players. It's a speed, toughness, physicality, position-specific athletic traits, scheme fit, and explosive dynamic finishers. These are all characteristics of football players. But then probably the more important one, what we called the 49er spirit, and it talked about football passion. This is a hard sport. So you better have people who absolutely love it, because when it gets harder, they're going to be willing to pay the price and to push through and things of that nature. We have the second characteristic is competitiveness. Are you contagiously competitive? I think when you have competitive people who love to compete, that permeates a team. And so we're looking for players who are competitive, because we think that's real dependability, mental toughness, football IQ. We don't need people that are rocket scientists, but we need smart football players, so and accountability. And so those are some of the early things we did, is really try to define our belief system. And, we try to talk about it. That vision statement is all over our building here. And so players know these are the type of players. This is what's important to us. And I do think that's critical. And ultimately, I think when people talk about culture is who are the people you're surrounded by, what type of people, that makes a culture, and obviously these are the type of people, but that's what culture is. It's who are you? What's your character? Who are you in tough times? Who are you when you have success? And so we think the more people that we surround ourselves that have, and not everyone's going to check every box there. But if you can check 8 of those 10 boxes, you're going to be a pretty good fit. If you check one of them, probably not going to fit here. And there's been numerous instances where you bring in a very talented player, but they just don't happen to match and be the right person for our team. And it helps us kind of move on from those people and bring people that embody our characteristics and our culture. And, that has served us well.
That's great. And I'm thinking about your childhood and how the expectations were there and laid out. And so your mission statement is just a continuation of your childhood. The expectations are there. Your mission statement is there. This is what expected of you. And there's absolutely no question. So
that's right. Yeah, this is the standard. And I think when you're direct with that, when it's always there and you don't deviate from it, nobody can really argue, because they understand that, okay, this is it. They've said it from day one. And it's up to you to kind of not conform, because we encourage people to be themselves and bring their own personality. But at the end of the day, you better have a lot of these characteristics, because we believe that's what's going to make us successful.
In our leadership program curriculum that we do here at the General Tommy Franks Leadership Institute and Museum, we have a program called 4-Star Leadership. The 4 core principles are our curriculum that General Franks has laid out for our program. And those 4 core principles are caring, communication, common vision, and character. Caring means obviously that you have to care for the people that you're leading. Communicate, obviously you're great at communicating what's expected. There's no question. Common vision, you're offering a common vision of exactly what everybody's looking for. This is our end goal. And character. Can you tell me where these principles play into your story?
Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but I think that's perfectly aligned with a lot of what I'm talking about. When you talk about caring, we talk a lot about being a family here. And I think in order to be a family, you got to show a great deal of care for the people you're working with, the people you're competing with. And we also believe that I think a pillar of the 49ers over the years is that they not only have done great things on the field, they've been very passionate about helping their community become better places. And we don't think those things are mutually exclusive. In fact, when you find guys who care about their community, we think you have a more complete player. And those are the type of people we want. And then you talk about being a teammate. Caring is so much part of that. We talk a lot here. We have a saying, I got your back. That's something that Ronnie Lott used to talk about, the 49er way. It's having your teammates back, and having your teammates back means you're there in good times and bad. And sometimes it's kicking your teammate in the butt and saying, hey, we expect more out of you. And other times it's picking them up when they've given up a play or having a hard time, or, something's going on with their kid is sick at home. Are your teammates going to be there? Common vision. I think our vision statement, I think it's everyone being on the same page. And I think, I tell people all the time, if you're in this building, you should be able to articulate what our belief system, and we should be we need to be able to do a good job of the messaging such that there's never any, and that comes down to the communication. I think in this role, I think my dad was a very direct person. And so I think I became kind of sheepish growing up, but I think in a position of leadership, I've learned, and in leadership, sometimes you have to come out of your comfort zone. It's critical to be very direct. When I'm talking to players, what I've learned in this role is they're hanging on every word you say. So you have to be extremely direct and understand that all players want is the truth. And sometimes trying to be nice, you might kind of mince words. It's better for someone. We are releasing you today, and here's exactly why. I think that helps them a lot more than trying to, hey, you did a great job. And I think now I've learned each year I get a little bit better. You've put forth a great effort, but here's why you're being released. You had an opportunity to make these plays. Unfortunately, you didn't. Here's what I would work on in the future. And then maybe you can come back and help us. I think communication is so critical. You look on a football field, it's all about communication. And then I'm missing one pillar. Which one is it?
I think you've covered the caring, communication, common vision, and character.
Character, yeah, and I
Yes.
think character is that's who you are. It's that's who your character is, who you are, and I keep talking about it in successful times. Probably more importantly, when we, I think of our season right now. We're on a 3-game winning streak, and everything's good. There was a time earlier this year where we're on a 4-game losing streak. That's not fun. But your character's really tested at that time. And you see the people who are all in, who want to be part of the solution. And then you see people, it happens that, it's real easy in those times to point to someone else. Hey, we're doing our job. But those guys aren't getting theirs done. And so that's what I think about character. And it's so critical. And I think it's so often revealed, when you're facing adversity.
I think so too. And what we share with our students is character is who you are all day, every day, not only at church on Sunday, but the same person on at the football game on Friday night, or at some kind of an extracurricular activity on Saturday, who you are every single day, not just Sunday, not just in school. So you need to be the same person all day, and being that same person builds trust, which is very important in a leader. Something that I would really like to visit with you about and explore your thoughts is that the journey of elite performers is not without struggle and immense determination, drive, and discipline, and it requires mental toughness to fuel that momentum. Can you share your thoughts on staying mentally tough? Like when you were with the Buccaneers, how did you stay mentally tough? How did you build that? How did you build your mental toughness? Because obviously you are known for having a tremendous amount. And share with us that story.
Yeah. Mental toughness is so important because it's not easy. Nothing in life that's worth it is. I think of mental toughness and being so critical, but I would also say in tough times, I think we're all human. And I really focused on this in my Hall of Fame speech. All the people that believed in me, from my mom and dad to grade school teachers to high school coaches to college coaches, Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh had such an instrumental role. He's one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time. He's no longer with us, but I was a quarterback when I first went to Stanford. I switched over my junior year. Again, a common theme where success didn't come to me right away. I didn't play my first 2 years on a regular basis in college. I switched over to the defensive side of the ball my junior year, but Bill Walsh came in and said, I think you can be a Pro Bowl safety in the NFL. And when Bill Walsh tells you something like that, you tend to believe it. So it takes a lot of people to have a lot of belief in you. But ultimately, you got to carry that torch. You got to be able to endure tough times. And I think that idea of stacking positive days, it's easier said than done. But But mental toughness is so critical because, I had a coach one time talk about, I remember he said something that has always stuck with me. It's a guy named Rod Marinelli, and Rod used to talk about, I don't want players that are always looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. I want players who just keep digging. And I think that mentality that if you just work, if you work and you understand, we have coaches and they say, hey, here's where you need to work on. But if you can put your head down and continue to work, you're going to find a way to get a little bit better. But I would say that human nature, it's not to do that. Human nature is going to say, oh, all right, how many more sprints do I need to run? But if you can get yourself in a mentality, I'm just going to keep running and not look for that light in the end of the tunnel. And when they tell me it's done, it's done. That's mental toughness. It's showing up when you're sore and tired and continuing to work. Everyone can come out and work. I see it all the time in training camp. The first 2 days, everyone's at their best. But come day 3 or 4, where the soreness kicks in, now you start to separate the people who have really mastered mental toughness and the people who are really struggling. I had a coach early my rookie year. He said, I see those. We were in Tampa, and one of the big freeways there is I-275. And he said, a guy named Floyd Peters, he said, hey, rookie, I see those I-275 eyes, And I said, what do you mean? He said, those eyes, like you want to get on that freeway and just drive home because it's getting tough. How are you going to respond? And that motivated me. But yeah, human nature, when it gets tough, you want to look for the easy way out, but it's to not take the easy way out. It's to continue to believe. And sometimes you have to rely on other people, teammates, people who believe on you, but find a way. But then when you start doing it every day, they become habits. They become ingrained in you. And so mental toughness, people say like this guy was born mentally tough. I think there's some truth to that, or the way you were raised, the way my dad raised me, I had to be mentally tough or I wouldn't make it. That's just kind of, I didn't have a choice. But I do think it's something that can be learned because it's really habits. It's, we used to, something as simple in Tampa, our hallmark is a defense. We had Hall of Fame players throughout that defense, Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks and myself and Rondé Barber. But our hallmark was the way we worked. We sprinted to every football. That's not natural. Not everyone does that. But after a while, that becomes a habit to where it's the only thing you know. And then when teammates come in that don't do that, they stand out. And so then they quickly learn, hey, that's our standard here. And it takes a while to learn, to just make that a learned part of who you are. And so I think that's mental toughness. It's creating those habits to where that becomes your nature. That's the way that guy responds. And I think, there's a lot of military ties to that, the way they train their people. It's relying on your teammates, but it's working through adversity and breaking through barriers so that, I had a trainer who was an old Marine who I trained with throughout my whole career, Peter Goshku. And every year there was one workout where he was going to take us to the brink. He was going to push us harder than we thought we could ever be pushed. And what he would say is, hey, your body won't let you down. You're a well-conditioned athlete. Your mind will let you down. But if you don't allow it to, you have no idea how far you can go. And that was always so critical because I would carry that with me into tough games when we were playing in Tampa and it was 100 degrees and 90% humidity and the other team was starting to really tire. And I felt like, you know what, I'm just getting going. And so, I know I'm rambling, but it's a subject I really am intrigued with. And I think it's what separates, people who really thrive in adverse situations to those who don't.
As I said, I've been digging into mental toughness, and one of the things that I ran across, I think it was yesterday, that physically, when you're physically training, that your mind will tell you that's all I've got at 40%, but you still have 60% left.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I do. And it's something you have to be careful. You don't want to tell kids, go work till you're exhaustion. But I think in a controlled environment, when you're around people, that's what we do to people. Okay, let's see if we can push it a little bit further. And you work up a stamina, but a callus. More importantly, you work out that mental toughness, that your mind gets out of the way. and now you just go. And that's it. It's a learned skill for sure.
That's great information. Thank you for sharing that. I want to talk about also elite performers reach a point of experience and ability in their life through the honors and awards and the achievements that you've made, that at some point people start to pay attention and respect, and they listen to you. And at that point, it seems, and I know that you and your wife Linda have done this as well, is to give back. And one of General Frank's dear friends says, when you have the resources, it's your responsibility, not just an option, to give back to what's brought you to this point, even though your hard work and determination has been a big part of it. But now you've reached this point of success where you can give back. And can you tell me about giving back and what you and Linda have done?
Well, and that good friend of General Frank sounds like my parents, because that's something probably as much as anything. And I think it was tied to our faith, that responsibility of giving back, but just who they were as people. And the great thing, they didn't talk about it. They were about it. They did it. So I saw it firsthand. They modeled it, and I didn't know anything different. And then when I became a professional athlete, you realize you have this tremendous platform. And when you understand that it's not just a nice thing, it's a responsibility, and you can do awesome things. And, I think a great example is I was in Canton, going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I promise you, I'm just as proud as the things we did off the field as all the accomplishments I was able to have on the field. Because, and one thing we did, we brought 4 of our scholarship recipients. We have 130 kids out there who've gone on to 4-year institutions with the aid of our scholarships. And there is such a awesome feeling when you've been able to give back and, help make possible somebody else's dream through encouragement, through, financial reward, through introducing them to, somebody who might help them, achieve something that they're interested in, through just spending time and knowledge, through mentoring people. It's the best feeling, and it's so rewarding. And I think it's critical. It's part of what our country is built on, that idea of giving back. And so grateful that I've had the opportunity, my wife, Linda, that we've had the opportunity, and we try to instill it in our kids. And grateful for people like General Franks who see that as well, and have given back so much to kids and our youth, because it's so critical to create that next generation of people. The only way people learn stuff is if it's passed down and it's modeled, and we can't ever lose that.
Absolutely. And I know that I personally, and I know I speak for the entire team here at the Leadership Institute, is that at the end of the day, you feel what we do is so fulfilling. And it's not just an 8-to-5 job that you come and leave, at the end of the day. It's with me all day, every day, and something that I think about all day, every day, and take with me. And I'm always thinking, how can we do more? How can we do more? And I know in your foundation, you have several different levels, don't you? Have a monthly student award and several different awards that you do, so that you can, there are a lot of opportunities in your foundation.
There are. I think one thing we tried to do when we set out and started our foundation, sometimes just little recognition. We always hear what's wrong with our youth today. There's a little curmudgeon in all of us. That these kids these days, they don't do anything right like we used to. And if you open your eyes, you find out that there's a lot of, and we do it. We've done it in Tampa. We've done it in Denver. We've done it in our hometown of San Diego. Now we're doing it up here in the Bay Area. There's plenty of kids that would make you so proud, and that are not doing just what's asked of them. They're going above and beyond, and they're bringing people with them, and that's leadership. And so there's so many great examples of people doing great things. And so I think that recognition, just to let kids know, hey, we appreciate you. You're to be commended for what you're doing, because that can spur them on to, hey, let me try to be even better. And then, along with our foundation, we do our scholarship recipients. We give scholarships to kids who excel in their classroom, in their sport, in their community. Talked about all the kids that are representing our foundation all over the country. And we also give to disabled student athletes, challenged student athletes. We always gave in Denver. Because of the ski mountains, there were a lot of challenged athletes there, and they had great programs. And so we started giving scholarships there. We had a great family who were neighbors there who had a granddaughter with Down syndrome, and they came to our luncheon and they said, hey, we love what you're doing with your foundation, and the challenged athletes in particular, we'd love for you to add Down syndrome kids to that. And so we did that, and so cognitive disabilities as well, and that's been such a blessing. So we've done a lot with the military. Boys and Girls Club's been another big benefactor. It's just such a rewarding thing to be able to help, and then to have the platform and resources to be able to do the same thing. So that's special to us.
And you were just awarded a Quincy Jones Exceptional Advocacy Award with the Global Down Syndrome Foundation. Is that right?
It is, and that's that family I was talking about, the C family. They're remarkable people, and you talk about people who just don't take no for an answer. And sometimes that's what you learn when you're a charity, is like the only way you're going to get something and help people is sometimes to ask, and not sometimes to ask. You got to ask. You got to tell people, here's what we're doing, and here's how you can help us. And I think when you do that, when people see your passion and your heart, that it's in the right place, they'll help you out. And the C's were one of those families, but they're the same family who said, hey, we love what you're doing, but we would like to see you include Down syndrome. And if you did, we'd sponsor it. And so they did. But they've made Denver, their vision was to make Denver like a hub for care for Down syndrome, because everything that goes along with it, extending the life of Down syndrome children, and making medical advances, having support groups for the families, because families pay a price because of all the care that goes in, and being able to share with other families. They're a tremendous family. They're kind of one of my philanthropic mentors. They're so unbelievable what they do, and they just won't take no for an answer. They've been fortunate. They've been blessed in business, and but they give back so much. They're some of the most remarkable, and they put that honor on myself this year. But whenever it's me, it's Linda too. We do things together, and so that was a tremendous honor.
That's really wonderful. And I was thinking about one of the things that I was digging into, and was that there are two kinds of character, and you'll see where I'm going with this in a minute, is that there's the part of your character that gives you the drive and determination to make it to the top. And if you only have that character, it gives you the drive and determination to get to the top, that you may be the kind of person that just climbs over dead bodies to get there. There's the other part of your character that's the moral and ethical part of your character that I think plays into one of the things that I read about you and Linda, is when you got to the top, who did you bring with you? Yeah. So, and I think that is the moral and ethical part of character that's so important, that makes the whole package to an elite performer, is who did you bring with you? As you
yeah. I played with a great player in Denver. His name was Rod Smith. He was a receiver, and Rod's one of the greatest teammates I've ever had the pleasure of playing with. But he, like General Frank, spoke at our luncheon one year and was speaking to our kids, addressing the community of corporate sponsors, but most importantly, the kids. And he talked about his grandma always asking him that, as he brought home another award, his grandma would always say, that's tremendous, Rob. but who'd you bring with you? Who are you going to bring with you? And that always spoke to me, because I think my parents did that in different, they didn't use that same verbiage, but they always said that. Okay, whose day did you make better today? Did you tell us about someone that you lifted at school today? And I think everyone can do that. Sometimes it's just a smile, making someone feel included, making them feel welcome. So there's so many ways that you can do that. But I think that's so critical, that we are just a culture of, hey, not only, it's great to be driven and nothing's going to stand in your way, but in the process, you can do it the right way, first of all, with morals and ethics, and not sacrifice those, because that will always come back to bite you, but also lift other people along the way. And, I think it makes it feel a lot more pure when you're there.
I think that is a really important part of character. And as we grow and mature into adults, there's a point when, we're only expected to remember all the things that we need to do for school, remember what homework or what assignments that we needed to do, or, what you needed to do to perform and meet the expectations for yourself. But at some point, and early on, you learn this, that's not enough. At some point, you have to be looking around you. It's not just about, did you remember all the things that you need to be accountable for? Do you need to help someone else that makes it somewhere?
And as we started on our journey of recognizing kids, it can become very much like, you're looking at SAT scores and grades and basically achievement. And we backed up and said, hold on, that's okay. I mean, we're not going to penalize, but we also want this to be more about a spirit, and we talk about, character, and that's why the community component of the kids we reward are so important, because it makes these kids well-rounded. We don't hold achievements against them, but it's got to be more than that. There's got to be a spirit of giving back, of bringing people with you. And so I do think that is so critical, and it's something we've tried to highlight in our charitable work.
John, what would you say to our students if you were to give them just some life advice from your experiences? And I know we've covered a lot of things, but is there anything in particular or special that you would like to share with our students?
Yeah, I think first and foremost to find something in life that you're passionate about. I know General Franks, I really think his drive in life, he loved our country, but he loved leading. He had an innate leadership ability, and I think he liked making people better, and he understood the responsibility that came with that. For me, I found something that do I work? Absolutely. I work extremely hard. I don't feel like I've ever had a job because I love going to work every day. And when you can do that in life, I think that really, it makes it so much more worthwhile. And, sometimes I think you have to, that's not always, possible. So you got to find and put your best foot forward. And I think whatever you do, I think you'll find. And sometimes, all right, I don't love my job, but it allows me to do other things like giving back to the community, because it financially, takes care of me or things like that. But I do think that's critical. And then I think if you can create that mindset of finding a way to get a little bit better each and every day, I think that's, and in the process, bring people with you. You're going to live a good life, and you're going to feel fulfilled and worthwhile. My faith is so important, has been. And so I think taking time to thank God each and every day for your blessings, because, when you're constantly looking for more, but you're not thankful for what you have, that's going to bite you as well. So, I think it's just, those are the things that I believe in. And, be a great teammate. You're all part of a team, and whatever we do, some people work alone, but you always are relying on other people. And I think being a great teammate, I told you that the example we use of having your teammates back, I think that, and if if you're in position to, and I think everybody is, and they're in a different way, give back, because that will be more rewarding than anything else you do in life. Because I think that's something that just makes your heart feel good, and to see people out there who you've helped lift, because anyone who's had success had people who helped them along the way. And so I think to return that favor, those are the things that I believe in and would encourage all the students to take to heart.
Thank you so much. I cannot say enough how much I appreciate that you have taken the time out of your schedule to be with us and share with our students. It's so important, and it means a great deal to us. And thank you for giving back, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. Like I said earlier, anything for the Franks family. They've been tremendous to us, and just have so much respect and admiration for who they are as people, all they've done for our country, and we'll always be grateful for that, and proud to call them friends.
That's wonderful. And I understand that maybe just on a little note, you were very instrumental in General Franks getting a Tampa Bay Super Bowl ring. Is that true? A little tidbit here at the very end.
Well, I think that's the Glazer family, our ownership in Tampa. They ultimately made that possible. I think a bunch of us who were exposed to General Franks made that request, and we were thankful to have great owners who understood that'd be appropriate. So I'm glad they did that.
Yes, your admiration for General Franks, and we all do have great admiration, and so I just threw that in there at the end. I happened to think about that, so I know that's a special bond as well. So
no doubt.
Thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time to spend with us today. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. Best to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you again to REI Oklahoma for making this podcast possible. For nearly 40 years, the board, staff, patrons, and supporters of the nonprofit economic development REI Oklahoma are committed to expanding Oklahoma's economic prosperity, earning the reputation of being one of the most comprehensive economic development organizations in the country. Business loans, training workshops, business consulting, and networking opportunities, as well as technical assistance and even commercial business space, are made available to Oklahoma entrepreneurs and small businesses. For low and moderate income individuals and families, down payment and or closing cost assistance is offered. Learn more at reiok.org. This has been the 4-Star Leadership Podcast. Now it's your turn, 4-Star listeners. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what you thought of this episode. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast, and tune in next month for our next episode that airs every last Friday each month. Go be great.